Preface. Agile leadership is the art for self-organizing to create the right sense. It is an atmosphere where agile teams are working together, learning from each other, getting users quick feedback, and concentrating on quality and continuous learning. Agile leaders neither micromanage people nor do they establish complete privilege. In modern management modules, to strike a balance between instability and stern discipline is critical to deal with. It is often challenging to develop and maintain a congenial environment with due adherence to cultural heritage, taking onus, mindset, suggestions, and expectations for the long-term objectives. In a vast array of situations, especially in fresh, evolving, and uncertain situations, the leader needs to handle with exemplary abilities. It is associated with 4 leadership styles, leadership models, adopted by people who have the capacity and agility to operate in any mode, the thought process framework, and most significantly, they are able to observe the proceedings from the viewpoints of other models. It is this kind of ability to deliberate in various ways that reflects the versatility of such leaders. It is also implemented as the main management paradigm for adaptive and progressive organizations in the perceptions of Agile Business Management. Summary. In the course of adopting the principles of Agile leadership, following factors always tend to come one's way. Management departments that expect the subordinate to be agile, but still need all the standard benchmarks and monitoring. Middle-level executives who feel agility seems working against the usual practice. A long tradition of organizations that seems to run adversely against an agile working condition. If people do have any of these problems, they are not alone. These are the most prevalent themes that have arisen from collaborating with numerous organizations and thousands of human resources. It is time to deliver agility to the leadership team of any organization, in place of abandoning agile propositions. The common mass needs agile leadership. The reasons are as under. There are 2 key positions in any company, viz., people who work in the organization and employees who work on the business. Agile applications, such as Scrum, fulfill a better obligation of addressing employees' tasks and duties in the concerned business. Scrum, for instance, claims that the business needs a project manager, someone accountable for directing the team to develop the right product or service to meet stakeholders' expectations. However, most agile strategies do not discuss the operating on the business roles and responsibilities. Several agile advocates have taken a platform and remarked that they do not need management assistance to dismiss someone with a leadership tag. That's one point of view, though disappointing. Another perspective is that the management needs individuals who are fully committed to the agile leadership, organizing and setting up a mission, developing an agile community, and helping those who are vested with the assignment. Therefore, one believes that agile leadership is the glass door that resists the resilience of the organizations. If people are to create a genuinely agile business environment, they need to crack the vulnerable door. Now that it has been adequately clear why people need agile leadership, one has to delve down deep and unearth the facts about this particular leadership element. To follow the steps, one must look at the agile principles and policies to come up with a proper interpretation. An individual has to note that it's all about people, individuals and their interactions. Also, it is imperative to focus attention on providing business value, business product. Besides, one needs to shape and support collaboration with customers' intentions, customer cooperation, and prepare and be willing to adapt at the correct moment, acknowledging subtle changes. Agile leaders are working hard in their interactions to be honest and upfront. They ensure that all the information they seek is out in the open and readily accessible. Agile leaders resist practices such as the annual inspection of performance. Instead of reserving the outcomes in one swift action, they demonstrate all the progress. Agile leaders gather feedback that can add the majority of benefits. They also use retrospectives to relax and evaluate the team's performance and how the team is functioning together. These retrospectives make it possible for everyone to move at a faster pace. Agile leaders learn quickly by conducting fast trials with low risk. An agile leader views failure as an opportunity for their teams to evolve, not at all costs to be avoided. Core service leadership tenets include taking care of needs and not wants, create and use control instead of abusing power, and to lead by example. Agile leadership inspires the core leaders to know their teammates on a visceral level, duly helping them to gauge the strengths and weaknesses of the team members. Instead of focusing on dominating vulnerabilities and squandering worth ethics, agile leaders concentrate on developing capabilities. Agile leaders share their feelings openly in front of their squad. People presume that being honest results in strong bonding and deeper interaction with the team members. Agile leaders are collaborative, cooperative, and more open to ideas and technologies. With a passion for knowledge, a focus on improving people's mindset, and a clear willingness to identify and convey the desired vision, they have all the acumen needed to inspire others effectively and become an agent of transformation in any business entity. Today there are numerous avenues in the market, such as Agile Leader Certification Program. Many companies have launched its latest certified Agile Leadership Program, which follows a trend close to an Agile Leadership Training Program. One may presume that the two systems, viz. Leadership and subsequent training schedules, will eventually merge, as they have the same goal in mind. Agile Leadership Success Parameters. There are at least 5 parameters for successful Agile transformations that will follow a meaningful change in the organizational segments. When there is direction and leadership, and not management and control. When there is organizational unity, rather than following local development strategies or personal agendas. When all parties outside hierarchies cooperate is supposed to be the rule, not an exception. When one understands that 19th century management methods are unsuitable to solve complex 21st century dilemmas. When managers are representatives of servants. Learning Agile Leadership. Multidimensions are important to learning Agile participants, irrespective of profile. Mental agility by making fresh relations, contemplating an issue critically to penetrate complex problems, and explore the possibilities of improvement is the essence. Understanding people's agility and commitment to others, as well as harsh circumstances for harnessing and multiplying collective results, must be ascertained. Changing the agility factor, experimenting with new challenges, creating interest, and coping successfully with adverse situations is always appreciable. Agility outcome is inseparable. The achievement of results by encouraging people in maiden circumstances and the demonstration of a strength that builds trust in themselves and others. Self-awareness has to be restored. Being compassionate and understanding each other well. Recognizing mutual strengths and subsequent impact should be applied in a vast spectrum. The leadership across the globe belongs to the most agile learning and training. Through these aspects, people can build themselves and their inherent talent and unlock sustainable human and strategic aptitude. Therefore, agile leadership is more than a live performance, rather
Chapter
than
1.
theoretical fact. Agile leadership, inputs and offtakes. It is the expertise to lead well through a range of circumstances, especially when it comes to driving a big transformation. One can see an agile leader because he is versatile, calm, responsive, elegant, and capable of working with complexity and uncertainty successfully. The essential ingredients of an agile leader are flexibility and resourcefulness in the face of constantly changing operational scenarios, the ability to act spontaneously, the potential to tie together and make sense of seemingly disconnected bits rendering shape to sustainable solutions. Enough skill for a fast and accurate shift in position without leaving the ground. One thing remains relevant. The shift in the industry is here to live. When businesses would like to be effective in handling change management at the pace of transformation, it may carry a lot to do with improving how one is able to lead than controlling the transition. And this is where the skill of agility steps in. Many of the leaders execute the business policies efficiently, with a penchant for a leadership change. They talk of transition and more progress to follow, but their most convincing business results are focused on developing groundbreaking new products or creating a paradigm shift to make their growth feasible. If people want the desired outcome, then their attention should assimilate a plethora of ideas and solutions to ensure that individuals are committed to taking the initiatives that will deliver positive results, and that is not just merely trying to manage the adjustments. Thus, instead of concentrating on a predetermined series of academic transformations, an agile leader should imbibe a diversity of insights, suggestions, and alternatives to the ensuing problem. The leader, therefore, tries a different set of strategies and moves on with the specific requirements elegantly. Agile leaders are those who, when presented with new and adverse conditions, work it out and break the jinx. Agile leaders are not only prompt and competent problem solvers when coping with circumstances they have never interacted before, but they are also laser-focused on performance and exceptional when confronted with unforeseen challenges in the background in order to reshape strategies and priorities. They are professional and resilient and think brisk and fast to resolve any magnitude of problems. Agile leaders are not only outstanding in dealing with transition, but they are also exemplary in guiding the stakeholders, predicting market trends several times, or, even further, generating new phenomena. Perhaps significantly, not only do agile leaders have all of the optimum agility, but they also have a high bit of both self-awareness and knowledge of other people's future activities. One should pay attention to restricting convictions and reactive impulses and examine the self-mental narratives and how they influence human behaviors. Also, one should take a hard look at his personality and see how adaptable he is in different situations. People need to surprise themselves with individual thought processes and participation and deliberately get out of the comfort zone and explore new avenues. People should ask pertinent questions and get prepared to analyze all aspects of a relationship in order to achieve progress. People should well anticipate that they are replaceable at any moment. Following this change, the successor should be well equipped in the new environment. The need of the hour is to look forward to progress in all possible actions with the help of proper agile leadership. Retrospection. In the 1990s, the word agility was first used to define manufacturing enterprises that could easily adapt to changing customer base. The definition of agility had grown by leaps and bounds in the early 2000s to include the willingness to anticipate and react to fast-changing situations, and to manage dynamic, interrelated associations in a useful manner. Because of increasing intricacy and a slow, growing rate of change in the global economy, it became apparent that all organizations, including service providers, government agencies, and nonprofits making institutions and their teams, need to build stronger agility standards. A new leadership model has also arisen with the emergence of agile software development. As economies become more and more inclined toward VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, organizations must cater to apprehend quickly and cope with all the possible precariousness. Modern management is often viewed as too sluggish in the industries. Agility allows the relevant groups to have the authority and the ability to make their own choices. Putting employees in a position to respond rapidly to new dimensions in the marketplace with technological innovations is a key responsibility. This adapted style of leadership, to create the right sense and atmosphere for teams in self-management, is a perfect ideology to propel oneself up toward agile leadership. The agile software development movement has also gained noteworthy momentum over the past decade. It is fair and pertinent that agile teams and organizations need agile leadership. But little was understood until recently about what agile leadership looks like in practice, and the potent mental and emotional skills it involves. Leadership agility is not a solitary function. It is an integrated set of skills that includes context-setting agility, how leaders pick critical initiatives and frame them, the resilience of stakeholders, the complete awareness of the viewpoints of the various stakeholders, and the full cooperation with them. Agility in self-leadership. How constructive leaders benefit from their experience. Creative agility, required to solve new narratives and complex problems. Furthermore, these 4 forms of agility apply to agile leaders in 3 key areas of action, which are leading organizational transformation, leading teams, and critical interaction. Besides, the leadership ability develops across 5 apparently identifiable levels, corresponding to well-established phases of individual development, viz. Expert, Successor, Synergist, Catalyst, and Co-Creator. The management style suits well in the philosophy of granting workers the flexibility to do their job and not telling all and sundry what to do. It stresses, rather, to describe the goals or intended result and allows people and personnel to find the best means of achieving the objectives laid down. Next, it also matches the customer orientation or user-centered value. With the growth of smartphones and IoT, increasing numbers of companies are becoming digital, internet awareness, which is more often than not adversely impacting the work culture. Where consumers are mainly in touch, not one-on-one, but rather by digital design, such organizations must answer to customer feedback as fast as possible to maintain a high degree of customer satisfaction. The agile leadership will promptly respond and accommodate by assigning teams to access to NPS, Net Promoter, and CES, Customer Success, to approach the reals of path-breaking success. The characteristics of agile leadership are enduring incertitude, creativity, curiosity, conviction, courage, passionate flexibility, critical mindset, vision, elasticity. Objectives of an agile leader. The essence of agile leadership is to create the right environment for teams to manage themselves on their own in the wake of prospective challenges. An individual should, rather, make sure that the objectives are transparent instead of just delegating instructions, and people know what to do and whether their efforts to get them in the vicinity of their intent. An ambiance should be created where agile groups are able to thrive and succeed. Teams cannot be asked to take excessive ownership. Agile leaders can only build circumstances wherein teams can take refuge. It is a crossover between moving in and out of the work syndrome, finding the comfort zone where the personnel have the appropriate degree of freedom in accordance with their level of maturity. It does not pertain to being fresh and ready for the future. It's about learning quick and fast. Team members in the process of self-management need to provide useful feedback on time on their effervescent decisions and actions. Stakeholders and companies need stronger tie-up. Promoting and learning from tests and mistakes is the need of the hour in terms of agile leadership. The agile leader must create, plan, and strengthen the organization's culture and work ethics. Managing business with agility. An agile leader's primary aim within the purview of agile business management is to promote and inspire cross-functional segments of personnel. It demands that the crew members are bestowed plenty of individual leeway in terms of responsibility, transparency, and autonomy to fulfill the necessities of the stakeholders. An agile leadership trainer can impart it in 3 distinct ways. Provide an atmosphere in which failure does not impact much. Embark on all the relevant information to make the right choices. To support arrangements contrived by the in-house staff. An agile leader has chiefly two sets of anti-patterns, i.e., micromanagement and truancy. If a procedure is aptly regulated and an adequate iota of tolerances is allowed, workers should have the right to perform without much of the interference from the managerial hierarchy. It implies a rigorous mechanism of tracking and documenting to determine when management mediation is necessary. It takes one to the other extreme, a manager who is unavailable in the workplace. A boss is identified by his absenteeism, although the subordinates are in the work premises physically and in a working mode. It becomes almost difficult to meet certain deadlines or targets without a superior to remove ever-cropping
Chapter
of varied
3.
Agile Leadership. Competency Indicators. Real experts, as well as so-called specialists, have written books about what divides great and mediocre leaders. It has been deciphered that it's remarkably the resilience factor that a leader can handle multiple options and obstacles simultaneously. Agile leadership is the quality to steer a business running efficiently by managing efficient systems, employees, and creativity successfully. Too much emphasis on one area intermingled with another can hamper results. For example, an efficiency fixation can cause a business to eliminate anything that does not add directly to services, including the formation of leadership and inherent research and development. People have established a host of competencies or attributes that all agile and adaptive leaders have in common over the years of observation, identifying and cultivating leaders who meet the criteria. Situational perception. It refers to recognizing how the success of a business can be influenced by external and internal developments, such as competition in the market or an organizational amalgamation. It involves recognizing those impacted by the needs and emotions of the competition in tandem with the efficacy of task deliverance. Leaders with decent situational insight, for example, realize how a merger encodes the morale and efficiency of workers, and will leave no stone unturned to inform employees and keep them in check with the latest trends on the newest evolutions. Regulated thought process. Intricate issues often have multi-layered rationales, including measures taken previously to fix certain ongoing hurdles. Any behavior can have dire effects, and even consequences that are uncalled for, in the perspective of large business gamut. Downsizing manpower to reduce cost overheads while retaining the same level of production, for example, may lead to more overtime commitment and outsourcing, which may ironically become expensive enough to offset the aspects of the economy in terms of optimum induction of inputs. Prioritizing the potentials. Several leaders begin their innings with a chart of important priorities. Those broad view targets are suitably addressed at a time. Even so, the more pressing fires that need to be extinguished on a regular basis can easily sideline the key purposes. They must balance long-term goals with short-term needs and requests, never losing sight of what's really important. It is a competency that requires exceptional planning, time management, and patience. Even the most experienced leaders struggle to get this right at times. Support self-realization. While spatial perception allows agile leaders to have a clear understanding of what is happening on the ground, the capacity of leaders to consider their own feelings and motivations is self-cognizance. Using this self-knowledge will assist leaders to manage their personal biases and make better decisions, adjusting their actions to the circumstances. A leader whose main impulse is to earn other people's respect and acceptance will find it difficult to make hard decisions unless he or she understands and holds this propensity in check. And leaders driven solely by the fund can make arrangements that prompt them to dissipate respect or even meddle with ethics. Individual integrity. Without integrity, the faith, commitment, and trust of the people whose support is important is unlikely to be honored by a leader. Integrity means an individual is truthful, honest, and humane. Essential markers of integrity include fulfilling commitments and obligations. Behavior that is compatible with values communicated consistently to others and taking accountability for one's acts and choices are the key factors. Finally, a lack of leadership competence will have a negative impact on individual leaders as well as the organization in particular. Research at the Center for Creative Leadership has found that high-integrity managers have more dynamic careers, and lack of integrity prevails among agile leaders whose career paths have been interrupted post an initial span of hurried growth. Such numbers of competencies are not inherent traits or characteristics that naturally happen when provided to agile leaders once they achieve a certain status. Rather, they are skills which can be built through on-the-job practice. Chapter 4 and training. Agile leadership, agility, and veracity. Distinguishing huge potential individuals is crucial to any company, and ongoing success is often viewed as an accurate measure of potential for the future course of action. Nonetheless, in the year 2005, an extensive survey by the Corporate Leadership Council disclosed that 70% of high-performing individuals had minimal capacity by the next level of execution. An individual needs to view more firmly at the performance potential matrix and the idea of learning agility to gain a deeper comprehension of leadership effectiveness. Newer studies pose wide-ranging concerns about how best to evaluate the ability and to what degree potential can be built by a dint of appropriate education. The attributes leading to higher capabilities. Relative performance is simply not a substantial measurement of the promise of future potential. Additionally, several institutions have begun testing learning agility, which is perceived to be a unique indicator of long-term operational capacity. It is related to the notion that learning from experience is essential to what allows and improves members of experts. Thesis on cognitive flexibility also follows the template, which includes ability to dynamically restructure one's formative acumen in response to radically volatile situational conditions, shift in knowledge and skills beyond the initial learning condition, speed of reaction, and adaptability concerning logical change. The Corporate Leadership Report found that while recent performance may be powerful, deficiencies in capacity, ambition, and engagement also restrict future potential. In this context, ambition may be in low spirits due to inadequate motivation, which may follow when individual prowess is not exploited completely. It is also a known fact that an array of factors that lessen engagement with the company will weaken participation in the long run. For attaining maximum productivity, both motivation and engagement are critical and can be undermined by problems within the organizational setup. The definition of learning agility, however, offers a specific point of reference that is especially pertinent when determining skill and measuring higher potential qualities. There are four main pillars of learning agility. Cognitive, the opportunity to manage ambiguity and render communication. Authenticity, personal insights and opinions regarding expectations and desires. Ambiguity, generosity toward uncertainty and readiness to explore and grow opportunities. Impact, emphasis on execution, real impact, and motivation. Learning agility is backed by balanced processing of information, which is also one of the decision-making processes in terms of authenticity. More successful practitioners, including skilled personnel and team leaders, by being receptive to input and implementing this feedback to the beneficial direction, and make room for their own rationality. In the context of the larger image, they see their position, with knowledge of what other people are doing, and understanding of professional resilience. Yet, learning agility also suggests that leaders can draw on the personal abilities needed to respond to unforeseen challenges, demonstrate own conviction, and convince everyone in relation to the job role. Chances tend to favor the agile brain. Accordingly, it is not surprising that star performers are able to interpret other people's expectations and to maintain distinct role interactions. A person can check the world with future knowledge, which can include both openings and risks. Profiling breakthrough actors at the workplace. Competencies should identify the characteristics and behaviors correlated with increased performance, and take into consideration the factors that relate to individual strengths. Successful strength alignment is pivotal to the performance potential matrix, demonstrating both existing performance and the capacity to adjust and respond favorably to more leading demands. It should be remembered that Henry Murray's research, 1938, on distinctive behavioral patterns is still relevant in recognizing the connection between personal strengths and role-centric skills. Present performance objective assessment could provide visibility into characteristics that relate to the success of the future endeavors. To illustrate the narrative, a 360-degree feedback study of UK nurses and midwives was conducted in the year 2010. 8 skills and more than 60 critical habits were highlighted by initial interviews with experienced and senior-level staff. After evaluating this module and the study, using the 360-degree data, it highlighted 5 clearly delineated factors based on 40 core statements that were almost exactly aligned with the role and content. Such skills in midwifery and nursing would include Segment 1, Patient-Client Commitment. Segment 2, Team Leading and Interaction. Segment 3, Rendering Precise Direction. Segment 4, Concentrating on Performance. Segment 5, Communicating with Healthcare Nominators. It becomes obvious that the requirements of certain circumstances, such as taking control of situations and providing clear direction, involve direct exposure to personal strengths. This emphasis on behaviors often discusses how EQ, emotional intelligence, is translated into principal work behavior design. The emerging competencies can be attributed to efficacy in dealing with critical events that distinguish more successful performance. The feedback in 360-degree highlights the capabilities, but also draws flaws that can hinder current performance and the possibilities of superlative positions. The research endorsed the viewpoint that the function and meaning of high-performance actions need to be interpreted. In order to gain meaningful input from key audiences, there is also some potent factors in being able to target specific questions. It reduces the time needed to complete 360-degree input from respondents. Simultaneously, written feedback may be more relevant to the position and situation, i.e., personalized to various respondent factions. Training and learning can then fix deficiencies in performance caused due to a lack of intuition. Sensible 360-degree feedback, which specifically targets questions for key respondent groups, may play a role in gaining insight into important roles and helps grow self-awareness. Training program intensity. Getting hold of successful factors can be directly related to efficiency and productivity gains. A new Bell Labs research, published in the Harvard Business Review, 1993, revealed substantial differences in average and star performers' productivity average. Such variations have not been clarified by logical thinking skills or personality traits, and these are likely to have been historically analyzed. The star performers, however, exhibited more efficient work tactics, particularly in terms of illustrating effort and sustaining contact with customers, and in terms of open dialogue. A subsequent phase of increasing competitiveness has raised consciousness of performance factors, based on various working behavior models. It achieved a remarkable 25% increase in productivity post 12 months of experimentation. It is utmost valuable to build on the knowledge of success drivers in any talent management system. It construes that the models of competencies need to be tailored to what really matters. Therefore, improving the assessment of competencies by integrating the more normal interactions and analyzing relevant events with statistical analysis focused on 360-degree feedback is a real bonus. If skills and behavior claims are true, they will make logical sense to the people who use them to seek input. They will then reshape the skills. Evaluation of 360-degree feedback reviews may be especially useful in recognizing the issues relevant to various groups. Building blocks of authenticity. Authenticity in one's daily business has been identified as the unhindered activity of one's time or core identity. It implies a sense of self-conviction about ultimate criteria for becoming an agile leader, which is the essence to the formation of a larger sense of shared intent. In addition to learning agility, one is able to classify authenticity as the second element in the performance potential matrix that allows defining high potential avenues. Looking closer at authentic leadership, one observes that expressing personal conviction and engaging with a pivotal action is important in this scenario. It also includes inculcating a sense of common intent, which involves having in others a purpose of authenticity. Furthermore, it is often ignored, this vital element of authentic leadership. The idea can be contradicted with transformational leadership, which stresses the use of optimism and a clear vision to transcend the self-interest of individuals in order to maximize loyalty to attain organizational objectives. It may help in short-term turnaround cases, but the company has less long-term value. In reality, following charismatic leaders with a convincing vision can pose a real threat. Balanced processing. To make room for their subjectivity, and are therefore apt to believe multiple aspects of the issue and plethora of perspectives when they interpret facts in a relatively balanced direction. Self-awareness. Comprehending their unique talents, abilities, intention, fundamental values, convictions, and desires. They are open to experience and receptive to supportive input. Authentic behavior and action. Adjust to situations in a manner suitable for their position, while remembering their key values and acting in a manner compatible with those values, as long as it allows. Relational authenticity. In their close-knit relationships, they strive to achieve honesty and veracity, use partial self-disclosure to establish trust, and to appear sincere in their conduct with others. Authentic leadership has a clear organizational orientation and is highly concerned with performance and efficiency. It is about obtaining maximum benefit by utilizing a positive mindset with the latent resources. An agile leader will continually determine how best to manage a horde of different associations, each of whom can affect results. Such contact groups may include the immediate supervisor of the business entity, associates, clients and customers, main vendors or suppliers, other business associates, and stakeholders. Increasing leadership effectiveness. There is increasing interest in the distributed leadership model, but when combined with authenticity, it is also likely to be more successful. Leadership abilities need to be reinforced by self-awareness and particularly comprehending of how existing work behavior patterns can influence other people's role-reliant expectations. With delegated authority, cascaded leadership is progressively viewed as an essential element in developing the ability of an enterprise to address future challenges. It allows administrators to establish the common mission required to match the actions of workers with the job requirements. It is an important step leading to successful performance in Agile leadership, a challenge to everyone. Agility is not just for gymnasts and leopards. While corporate leaders need not have to worry about replicating handstands or searching the forest for prey, they have to be flexible in their planning, to guide companies in a profit-making direction, and know when it's time to call it quits. Agile leaders need insight as well as bravery. The former is embodied in seeking what comes down the roadway to make decisions about the future, while the latter seems to be courageous enough to upset the status quo and enforce what has been agreed upon. Many leaders are powerful visionaries, but lack sufficient internal power to influence real change. Others are full of arrogance, and their vision for the future is not so solid. As one might guess, the best performers are those with both attributes, so they seem versatile and resilient. If a person contemplates on Kodak's leadership, he can find that once a powerhouse in photography, now it has been reduced to being little more than a minuscule operator. Their business model was focused on customers acquiring cameras and films from them. Also, they saw digital technology entering their domain and couldn't have skipped it. They held firmly to their core products and refused to shift over time. The Kodak staffs were deficient in agility. Perhaps they permitted their own fears and concerns to hold them on a path entering into an abyss. Or perhaps their failure to act signifies that they were unable to gel with unforeseeable consequences, which is the quality of every agile leader. So, they were unable to understand that nothing lasts permanently. No one can become an agile leader immediately, but when an individual questions the mindset current and assess the aptitude for change, the process begins. An agile leader should ask the rational audience to answer the following queries. What imminent factors can influence industrial growth? How do these factors come between the current performance and behavior? Which niche behaviors or thinking has made a leader so popular? How is the agility leadership behavior affected by the impulses, values, and ends? What lessons can one learn from the experiences of other flourishing contemporaries in a similar scenario? What new behaviors or expertise should one consider as pointers to an agile leader's future progress? What specific shifts in thinking and behavioral modifications is the leader willing to make to reach the future dynamics? Once the people are honest with himself and understand what might prevent him from being an agile leader, he can propel to success and become the emperor in the work jurisdiction. To sum up, recent developments demonstrate more efficient ways of identifying talent and building on strengths. Such findings are important both at an individual and collective level. Where modern psychometrics might include group-based assessments that help the analysis of training requirements. Although several of the qualities that contribute to learning agility and effective leadership may be common, the increasing focus on managing role relationships is especially pronounced. Learning agility and authentic leadership are two-pronged factors to successful organizations' long-term existence. The ties to role relationship management also stress the relevance of self-review and centered input in maximizing organizational. Modern-day life and leadership are just like swimming against the tide in the unpredictable darkness and enormity of the Atlantic Ocean, one of the largest water bodies. People are entering the water with the least acquaintance of the future happenings. Even though people live under the impression that life is stationary, clear, and under check, it is far from the truth. Every moment is constantly changing, and circumstances and options are always ambiguous, unpredictable, and gloomy. One has no option but to develop own capability to adapt and evolve. In order to the person needs to show more conviction and dynamism. As leaders, an individual needs to have the holistic capacity to put together and render a meaningful debate of seemingly disjointed pieces of information and concepts, generating innovative solutions and unorthodox explications. At the same time, one should inculcate the confidence to take decisions forthwith even in the absence of convincing and full-fledged information. The attributes required at the top level are viz. Transparency, effective communication, adaptability. These qualities often suggest that leaders need to be sure with their course of action and capable of accepting the insipid attitude that comes from the thoughts or circumstances of the people at large. Understanding agility in leadership is a key to unlocking the human ability to adapt. It is simple to illustrate, as one does not know what to do. It's like doing what is unknown. Meticulous research displays that the learning curve in adopting agility is a reliable indicator of the capacity for leadership performance, because learning phases among the agile people contribute to successful intake of absorbing information from their rich and varied treasure of experience, and then deducing or encrypting it to deal with new situational environments. Learning agility is a dynamic set of skills that encourages people to learn a thing of substance in a given situation and incorporate it in an entirely distinct condition. It's about collecting trends from one context and then applying them in a whole new setting. In brief, learning agility is the potential in continuously getting hold, adapt, and apply oneself in morphing stipulations. Headquartered in Los Angeles, California, Korn Ferry is a management consulting firm established in the year 1969. As of 2019, it operates in excess of 100 offices scattered over 52 countries and employs 8,500-odd employees across the globe. The company has also researched on how different groups of people communicate learning agility. They worked from a database of 2,200-odd executives and managerial positions from 25 organizations in 4 regional regions around the world, and it has been conducted in 3 phases of the study. They drew a sample of nearly 1,250 staff members, categorized as high agile learning. 7 distinct characteristics were established in this research orientation, viz. Visionary leaders, problem solvers, trendsetters, upholders, mainstays, diplomats, and motivators. The researchers concluded that people learning Agile pursue experiences from where to learn, appreciate compound issues and problems associated with fresh occurrences because they were interested in finding the meaning of it and execute in a better way as they embrace new strategies into their arsenal. An individual equipped with learning agility has more classes, more resources, and much more approaches to take advantage of newer business challenges when faced with new business challenges in various capacities.